March was a good one. It was a good one. I feel like I read a lot of books and had a pretty decent amount of good books. So let's get right into it. Like usual, I'm going to start out with the lowest rated book that I read this month all the way to the highest rated book that I read this month. So the timestamps are down below if you just want to look at my 4 and 5 star reads. Let's start off with a DNF. My goal for the past 3 months now, and then I'll do it into April and for the rest of the months this year, I've been trying to read my physical TBR. But I did have a DNF of a physical book, and it was the Find a Girl Support Group. I got about 20% of the way through and I just could not get into it due to the writing style. It wasn't anything specific with the book. It was also kind of my mood. I was in the middle and still am reading a big fantasy series right now. And I think that adding just a random mystery thriller didn't do it for me. Like I could not get in the mood. A soft DNF, like I might come back to that one. I've heard good things and I've also heard not so good things with that book. So getting to the 2-star books. I never ever have rated a book 1 star. If I'm gonna rate it 1 star, I might as well have DNF'd it. So I feel like my DNFs can be categorized as my 1-star reads, but we're starting off with 2 stars. On my Kindle, I read A Court This Cruel and Lovely. In recent videos, I've noticed, and I've said this a few times, I've noticed with romantasy, there's a theme of it seeming like it's a young adult, like the characters just act so young, and then there's random like spice or something thrown in at the end, and I have not been enjoying that kind of romantasy, and this kind of fell in that category for me. I half listened and read it on my Kindle, so I had it on my Kindle, but I would be listening to it when I was doing other things. The main female character was just not my favorite, and I thought that the plot plus the magic system was so difficult to keep up with and understand. Like, I think I read this book in my 24-hour reading vlog, so if you want to go watch that video, you can see all my thoughts on it. I did end up giving it 2 stars. It just was my favorite romantasy, and I've been purposely really picky about romantasy recently because I've noticed the quality for me has to be high. Another 2-star read was on my physical TBR shelf, and it was A Touch of Darkness. This one I'm gonna get hate on. People love this book in this series, and Scarlett St. Clair, like I know she's a good author. I also read A Battle of King and Blood, King of Battle and Blood, I think that was what it's called. I also read that one and did not like it, so I think Scarlett St. Clair's writing just might not be for me, but again, it's not a bad, like I finished it. This book is about Persephone and Hades. Persephone is a goddess who grew up around mortals, so she's very like used to the mortal lifestyle. Mortals and goddesses, Hades, whatever, all of them are separate, so it's like 2 separate worlds. She ends up getting invited to like a club that Hades owns, and Hades kind of like pinpoints her out, is like, hey, I'm gonna make a deal with you. People notoriously make deals with the devil, and it doesn't end up well for them, but for Persephone it does end up very, very well for her. And the tropes towards the end, I don't want to say anything, it's just not my favorite. Spoil it, like I don't want to spoil it. The tropes in here just weren't my absolute favorite. I did think the spicy scenes were decent, like I'm not against or I wasn't hating on those. It's more of the plot and the character herself I just wasn't very into. Okay, let's get into the 3-star category. They're Vicious Darlings. This is book 3 in the Vicious Lost Boys series. I love these books. They are so unnecessarily spicy, except for this one actually. The first 2 were like, wow, like these are so good. Reverse harem. Couldn't get any spicier. Like I absolutely loved it, but the plot in here is actually very, very good, and it's based off of Winnie and her relationship with Peter Pan and a few of the Lost Boys that are in here. And specifically there's a new character, not new, but like we get his perspective in this one. He's my favorite character in the whole series now. I'm obsessed with Rock. If you guys know, maybe it's my husband's name is Brock. Maybe that's why. I'm really into Rock. I really like him. But this series in general, if you guys just want a little bit of spice, but you're looking for a plot with it, adore these books. And they're so easy. Like the font is kind of big. The chapters are really short. I think they're such good palette cleansers. This is the 3rd book in the series. I don't own the 4th, but I'm almost off my book buying ban, and I'm gonna buy the 4th. So 3 star. Upgrade, another physical book. This became available on Libby, so I half listened, half read it. I am the kind of person where I like to read and listen at the same time. It helps my brain, and this just happened to be one of them, and I love Blake Crouch. This is my third or fourth book from him. I find his work to be so confusing but so beautifully done, and I'm really like a nerd when it comes to things like this, like space, time, all of, like, I love it. And these are really simple and palatable. They're not too difficult to understand. His other one, I forgot, Recursion, that one messed me up. That one, my head was gone. This one is about a family of scientists, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but the mother ends up creating gene editing in a way that no one has seen before, kind of making like her own children these superhuman kind of people, and you're watching her children kind of navigate the world with these new supernatural human abilities. I don't want to say any more than that because there's so much more to it. There's a lot of politics involved, there's a lot of action and blood and guts and gore, and there's a lot going on in here. This one didn't confuse me as bad as some of his other ones. It was easy to keep up with. His characters to me are usually unlikable, and I really liked the main character in this one. His name is Logan, I think. Yes, Logan. It's like if you want something new and you haven't tried science fiction or dystopian or anything like that, like Blake Crouch is a good little taste because they're short. They're short, easy. Audiobooks are wonderful. I love the narrator of those. I'm sorry, all of these books that I'm talking about so fast because I'm so tired. I just got off work. Okay, let's talk about the next 3-star read. I just finished it yesterday. I listened to this on Libby. I did do a lot of Libby books this month, but this was the longest month of my life, like with work and just things going on. Like I felt like March never ended. Talking about some of these books that I just did, I don't even remember reading them. Like I remember the plot, but I don't remember me reading them. Like it feels like a year and a half ago. Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Center. I have only read that one book from Catherine Center. What was it called? Yes, I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Catherine Center writes romance books. That's what this one is categorized as, but I would also call it like women's lit. Character development with the main character is beautiful in this book. I adored the character development and seeing this strong, badass firefighter not have any feelings or any kind of like, she didn't even believe in love at the beginning, and then you slowly see her progress. The one thing that bothers me, and I'm not a firefighter, I'm not. I do have a friend that's a firefighter, so I might have to ask her about this book, but I felt like Catherine did not do the firefighting community justice. Like there were some stereotypes that I could tell were in this book, and it was like the extreme of being a firefighter. I didn't think it accurately represented the firefighting community, and that just might be me. Like it just seemed really like extra. Basically, our main character Cassie takes her job as a firefighter so seriously that she has no personal life. She doesn't have any like goals outside of firefighting, and that's where you see her character development, obviously, but it just didn't, I don't think, represented firefighters very well. So that's all I'm gonna say. The next book I also read on Kindle. I read this while I was on a flight. The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. It is a sequel, so you're kind of still in the same main character's POV, just some more things are happening, and it's really eerie and creepy, and she's a housemaid for a rich couple, and it's some trippy stuff by the end of this book. I did enjoy the first one better, but the main character in this I love because she doesn't make those stupid horror movie kind of mistakes. Like she's genuinely a good investigator herself. She knows how to like handle certain situations really well, and I find that really refreshing because I feel like some mystery, horror, and thriller books, it's the main character always making the stupidest decisions. She doesn't do that. Like she is really smart, and you're like, oh wow, she really thought this out. It's always like some women empowering kind of move that she makes that by the end of the book, and I absolutely love it. I did have a 4-star book this month, but I want to talk about that actually in the 5-star category because it's part of a series. So let's talk about the 5 stars that I read this month. This was actually the first book I read in March, The Graham Effect by Al Kennedy. Sports romance, hockey. Actually, the male and female main character in this play hockey. It's not like a figure skating hockey romance. Like it is a hockey romance. They did start out not like as enemies, but rivals. I feel like enemies to lovers you can't apply to contemporary romance. Like it's really just a fantasy kind of thing for me. But rivals, like that's pretty applicable for sports. This is a spin-off series from the off-campus series, so I did love getting the cameos of Dean and Garrett, like all of them. I absolutely loved seeing because I started my reading journey reading that series, so that was wonderful to have those cameos. This one reminded me a lot of Icebreaker by Hannah Grace because there were a lot of healthy conversations that they had, which I feel like in the past, Elle Kennedy's books, the off-campus series, those for me were pretty toxic at some points. They were a little toxic, where this one, it's a new generation and these characters know how to talk and communicate and like work things out. I did read this book in my 24-hour reading vlog. I adored it. Loved it. Can't wait to read the next one. Actually, there's one character in here, I think his name is Beckett. I'm so excited for his book. Like, that's the book that I want. Now, we get to talk about my favorite book that I read this whole month. I've been reading Spark of the Everflame this whole month. So Spark of the Everflame, I gave 5 stars. Glow of the Everflame, I gave 4 stars. And I'm currently reading Heat of the Everflame, which I think I'm gonna give like 4 or 4.5 stars. And like I said, I'm currently reading Heat of the Everflame, and that's 1,000 pages, and I've been taking my damn time. I have not been rushing that book. It's so long and so much is going on, so many politics, so much back and forth between all of these like different realms. Like, it's deep and I love it. So we have Diem, who is a mortal, and she grew up with mortal parents and a brother, and they live in the mortal city. But she also grew up in a world full of descended, and descended are like these, I kind of like fae, but they just have like magic. They don't have like enhanced hearing or anything like that. They're like these magical beings that kind of overtook their world, let's just say. Diem's mother goes missing one day. Months go past, and Diem kind of goes on this like hunt to figure out why her mother went missing, and she gets kind of sucked into the descended world by accident. I'm so deep into this world and these characters, and I will say book 2 really expanded on the characters. There were a lot more characters introduced in book 2. Book 3, it really has slowed down, and it's more like just focused on Diem and the other main character, Luther. It's just really focused on them and their kind of like relationship building, but also kind of getting Diem out of some sticky situations, rightfully so, because she is sticky. There's a lot going on. But one of my favorite, and this took me by surprise, one of my favorite parts about the series is how slow it is with the romance. There's not been a spicy scene yet. I'm in book 3. I think we might get a spicy scene by the end of this book. I don't know. I think I have like 200 pages left. I'm like really into the way that Luther talks to Diem. Like, Luther's words are magical. Penn Cole, you have crushed the way that Luther speaks. Like, I have sent so many quotes to my husband. I'm like, why don't you talk to me like this? And if you want to see some of those quotes, you can actually just go follow my bookstagram, because I post so many of his quotes on my stories. And I'm glad that book 4 comes out in June, because I'm dying for it. That's all I want to read. And I have been reading all of these on Kindle, but the second April 1st hits, which is tomorrow for me, I'm buying the paper copies of this series. That's it for this month. I feel like it was a good month. Maybe I have to like fix my perception on good versus bad months, because I just read a lot of books this month, but does that make it a good month? I read 9 books this month, and then the current one that I'm reading, I hope to finish tonight. That would be great. That'll put it at 10. So I call March a win, and I'm really excited for April because I'm gonna still read some of my physical. I plan on reading a lot on Kindle. I have some rereads that I want to do, and I get to buy books again. All of my social media, my bookstagram, Instagram, Goodreads, all of that is linked down below. Like and subscribe if you did like this video, and thank you for supporting me. I will see you in the next video. That's very true.